Hello and welcome to the GCN Cycling News Show. This week's show is coming to you all the way from sunny California, and we're lucky enough to be joined by Neal Rogers, VeloNews editor.
Hello.
Hi Neal. In this week's show, we're going to have news from the Tour of California, the Giro, the Women's Tour of Britain, plus we'll have tech and tweet of the week. The Giro d'Italia started in Northern Ireland of all places with a team time trial around Belfast. Orica Greenedge took the win, with Svein Tuft getting the perfect birthday present and pulling on the Maglia Rosa after the stage. Neal, could you tell us a bit more about where the race leaves the overall favourites after stage one?
Well, I can tell you where Dan Martin, and that's on the floor and in the ambulance, sadly, just 2 weeks after the Bastogne-Liège crash. It was really tough to see. I think the most notable time gap that we saw, though, was the 38 seconds between Joaquim Rodriguez and Nairo Quintana. We saw Rodriguez lose the Giro d'Italia 2 years ago to Ryder Hesjedal by 16 seconds, more than double that gap now to Quintana, so he can't be very happy about that.
No, certainly not. And Cadel Evans is, of course, still in a fairly strong position.
Yeah. I mean, it's 3 weeks. It's a long race. The third week, there's so many mountains. And you could see people just hemorrhage time in the mountains, but every second counts.
Stage 2 was one for the sprinters, and Marcel Kittel took a victory in the soaking rain and the stage that ran from Armagh to Dublin. Neal, can you see Kittel being beaten by any of the other sprinters?
From the looks of that sprint, absolutely not. I think he is probably the strongest sprinter, perhaps not the fastest, but the strongest sprinter in the sport. And if he has a clear shot, I don't think anybody in that Giro d'Italia peloton is going to be able to beat him.
And do you think things are looking ominous for Cavendish and the others when it comes to the Tour de France?
Cavendish has such a strong team, and if he can, the thing is, I think he is the quickest sprinter, and the guys that in California, they're here to work on their lead out, and if he's in the right position, I'd still put my money on Cavendish.
The first stage of the Tour of California was a 120-mile or 190-kilometre loop from Sacramento back to Sacramento. The early break included Theo Geoghegan-Hart, one of our top 10 riders to watch at the race. After the break had been brought back, the peloton splintered with a group of favourites getting off the front in the crosswind. This all came back together on the way back to Sacramento, and John Degenkolb led out the sprint, with Mark Cavendish closing right up to the line. It came down to a photo finish, and neither rider knew who had won. In the end, it was Cavendish from Degenkolb. The Women's Tour of Britain is in its first year and is already one of the premier stage races on the calendar. Emma Johansson took stage 1 from Marianne Vos. Rosella Ratto won stage 2. Vos took the win on stages 3 and 4. Neal, there's something interesting that happened after stage 4.
Yeah, a clever little marketing move by Strava, which is actually one of the sponsors of the event, and they're based right here in the Bay Area in California. They invited the gal who had the QOM on one of the climbs in stage 4 to come to the stage finish, and Marianne Vos was fastest on the climb, and so that whole, you've had your QOM taken from you, instead of getting an email from Strava, she got to meet the woman that took her QOM right there behind the podium.
The final stage of the Women's Tour of Britain was won by Marianne Vos. She also took the overall victory. Stage 3 of the Giro d'Italia, the last of the Giro's stay in Ireland, was won by Marcel Kittel, who took a very close sprint victory from Ben Swift. Kittel collapsed after the finish, such was the effort. Specialized have launched the Tarmac. It's no longer the Tarmac SL4, and it's not the Tarmac SL5 like we expected, but it's only been seen under the riders at the Giro in Italy, not here in California. But in California, what we have spotted is SRAM Electronic. VeloNews spotted it first back in November or December. Neal, what do you think? How important is it for SRAM to get electronic right this time?
It's absolutely important. This is not an unveiling. This is just something that's been spotted on the Bissell development team. There's no word yet as to when they're going to bring it to market. But if you think back to the debacle they had with the hydraulic disc brakes during the cyclocross season late last year, it's just absolutely vital that they get the electronic right, both in terms of PR, but also when you think about the amount of money that they spend on that recall, they need to get electronic right. They need to bring it to market when it's ready and not a day too soon.
Tweet of the week this week comes from Matt Rabin, chiropractor at Garmin Sharp. Matt Rabin, me to @DanMartin86 this morning. What are you going to do today, mate? Reply, might go and play some tennis. Gold. We wish Dan Martin a speedy recovery. We hope to see him back at the front of a race very soon. On the channel this week, we've got regular updates from the Giro d'Italia and the Tour of California. We have the release of the Road Bike Party 2 documentary, so be sure to check that out. And we'll have our usual schedule of content running throughout too. Don't forget to comment, share and like this video, check out VeloNews.com and subscribe to GCN on YouTube.
They're already late to the party. Shimano and Campagnolo both have electronic that works, it's race proven. But also, if you recall, well, that's a pun, if you remember the recall